What's up, everybody? So my 14-year-old said I should start recording some of this stuff and put it on YouTube. So this is my first attempt. Um, a little bit of background. Back last year, week before Christmas, we were at Disney down in Orlando, and I went to the Lego store and I walked in, and they had this huge display up, and a bunch of grown men standing in front of it, oohing and awing, and talking about how much their wife would kill them if they bought it. And so I looked, and it was the full size, well, not full size, but it was the Millennium Falcon Ultimate Collector Series. And luckily enough, I had a $300 Disney gift card to bring that price down a little bit because it was an $800 set, which is just astonishing that they've gotten that expensive. But I bought it. Managed to figure out a way to get it home because we were in a rental vehicle with not a lot of space, and over Christmas and New Year's, I put it together. Fell in love with it, and so, for the avid Lego fans, you've seen it. And over the last few months, that has turned into this. Numerous number of sets that I've bought. I was lucky enough that a few years back, my kids were into Legos, and they still had a tub full of Legos. And so I took that tub, went through it. I started finding little pieces. For instance, I would find like this body, and I was like, God, it looks familiar. I started looking around, and I realized it was Rebel Soldier. Figured out what set it was from and started putting the set back together. And so I think I put together about 16 sets slash vehicles slash scenes. So it's kind of gone from there. I like going to shopgoodwill.com. They have people who just give away old sets. Now they are a for-profit company, so they do make money off of it. But the reality is I've gotten the 2012 TIE Fighter for like $35. It's cheaper than Bricklink as well. So anyways, yesterday I got to take a long trip because my younger son forgot to take his backpack, or not his backpack, his sleeping bag to a camping trip, Boy Scout camping trip. So I got to take an hour and 15-minute drive each way. Along the way, I stopped at a Walmart a little out of the way, and I found the Jakku quad jumper. Now, honestly, not a huge fan of this. It wasn't really on my list of ships that I wanted to buy, but normally this retails for, I've seen it pretty much like around 40. I think the MSRP is a lot higher on it, but I happened to see it. It was not on a shelf. It was up in the overhead, and I checked there's BrickSeeker or whichever site it is to check the prices, and $30. It's got 457 pieces, so for $30, it goes below that 10, 11 cent price that everybody aims for. So, so far, 2 figures. It's Ray and Uncar's Thug. So I'm going to continue to build. A lot of people may wonder, why is a 41-year-old man building Legos? And for me, it's a way to relax. I work in IT. It can be high stress, quite a bit, and so it's a great way for me to just kind of be able to relax and kind of let everything else go. I don't like being stressed out, and when I'm stressed out, I tend to be a little harder on the kids, and I do train jiu-jitsu as well, and that certainly helps. But the reality with jiu-jitsu is, as you get older, you tend to get hurt a little bit more. And right now, I've hurt my knee early this week, and so I won't be training today. So this is a nice alternative for me to be able to do this instead of train. And it's just a lot of fun, right? I mean, you're learning about various building techniques that Lego uses. The the Lego designers are pretty incredible when you see what they do. There's times when on some of those brickhead figures, putting them together, and you're like, why in the world are they using a pink piece here? You don't want to see any pink on this figure. Why are they using it? And honestly, I still haven't figured out why they use the pink piece. But the reality is that by the time you put it all together, you don't even see that piece. And so, I don't know if they're just using specific pieces just because they have an overrun on those pieces or what. But it's kind of neat. Like, they use these pieces, and you don't even really end up seeing them. A lot of times, they end up using pieces just as accent pieces, or I guess accent studs, if you want to call them that. And it's kind of neat because they look really good, but initially when you're putting it together, it's kind of hard to tell like what it is they're trying to do. The one downside to having put so many sets together is that you start, just like with anything, you start getting faster at being able to put these things together. So a 457 piece set starts going together really, really quick. And so that's kind of a downside, right? Because I guess inevitably you end up having to buy more and more sets or find an additional alternative hobby. Like, so this is interesting, right? So they have these bricks, which I don't know if you can see the text. Yeah, there you go. You kind of see the texture. Sideways there, and then vertical there. And so it's interesting that they give me this piece to put inside of here, right inside of here, but you can't see any of those details. So I'm curious as to why they use that piece as opposed to just a regular flat black piece, right? Just interesting. My account here is still pretty new, so I unfortunately can't. Use the wrong piece because I'm not paying attention. Unfortunately, I can't live stream yet, so that's kind of a bummer. I'm kind of used to that. I've been live streaming, not really any of my builds, but I've been live streaming, my videos on all the sets and such that I have. And as I add sets, I've been doing that on a different social media site. I don't know. Can you say Facebook while you're streaming a video on Google? I feel like they're going to hunt me down and tell me that I violated the terms of service. Probably not, but yeah, I'm going to have to go back to because I really don't even remember this ship a ton in the movie. So I'll have to go back and take a look at it once I finish. It's funny, every time I put one of these sets together, I'm always like, oh my god, I'm missing a piece. And then just about right before I go upstairs to get a spare piece, I end up finding it. It just always happens. And I've got a huge bucket upstairs of spare pieces, just mainly from ones that the kids had. And so the Lego sets, out of all the sets they've had, the Lego sets I went ahead and I've put back together. A lot of the other ones I did not, because they're just some that I'm really not as interested in. The reality is, I mean, there's some really cool like Lego Ninjago sets. There's some cool like Marvel sets out there, but the reality is there's only so much money to go around, and there are a ton of Lego sets, and so I'm kind of limited. And what I don't want to do is I don't want to buy like some Lego sets, some Batman sets, some Star Wars sets, some Lego Ninjago sets. I'd rather just focus on one specific, type, and just kind of do that. Oh, you know what? I realized I was supposed to make a couple more of those. I'm really bad about going and pulling like all the pieces out before I complete a step. I prefer looking at the picture. I've always just kind of worked that way. So I tend to do that more. There we go. That does leave me sometimes though. They kind of get stuck and because I forgot to follow a specific step. The beauty of it is, though, it's pretty easy to catch up on that. So it's interesting. They have these little pop guns, right? And so you have this tiny little piece that goes in here, and then you have the shooters that go in the end, or not shooters, but the caps that go in the end, and it just shoots them. They started giving these out to all the figures instead of the regular plastic, the regular like little rifles, and a lot of people are not happy about that. I don't care one way or the other. I think the rifles look a little more realistic, but these little pieces that go inside of here, like Lego always gives you extras. Like again, right? I have this extra piece. When you start buying a lot of sets like I do, I swear to God, I've got to have 20, 30, 40 of these extra pieces. And I get that sometimes pieces go missing, but they allow you to request missing pieces on their site for free. And granted, sometimes it takes 3 or 4 weeks to get there. But I just don't understand why they continuously add so many of those extra pieces in there. It's ridiculous. Because it's not like, other pieces, I get it. Like, it's cool. I can just reuse that piece somewhere else. But, with that particular piece, there is no other use for it that I found. If you know of another use, by all means, let me know. Maybe I'm missing something. But it just feels like, from a manufacturing standpoint, it just costs them money and nothing else. I don't see what the gain is for anybody to have those extra pieces in there. And, if let's say you miss one and you forget to put one in a bag. So, some kid or some adult somewhere goes ahead and they put their set together and they're missing this piece. I mean, it's not like it's going to keep them from playing with it. Sure, they can't let off that little cap. They can't shoot it off, right? They can still put the set together, right? There's nothing that they can't do. So it's interesting that they continue to add those in there. I don't get it. That's just me. I'm weird like that sometimes. But so I'm curious as if anybody's gonna actually watch this. I'm sure I'm gonna have to add some kind of funny commentary, and I'm not funny often. Sometimes I can be, but I wonder if people will just start watching this kind of like they do for my kids' video games and such. You see that a lot. Like these people just, not these people, these kids, mine included, just prefer to actually watch somebody play video games as opposed to play video games themselves, which I'm not sure I'll ever completely understand. But it just, it has me thinking about that and wondering if that's going to kind of be the same way. All right. I love when I get near finishing a particular bag. For those that know me, you know that over the last few months, I've been trying to find different ways to get into Legos. And so at one point, I did order a couple of the Lepin sets, which are the knockoff sets from China. And it's been kind of interesting. I think in certain situations, it's cool that they're out there, because for the Superstar Destroyer or some of those sets that there's no way you're ever going to get a chance to build them unless Lego brings them back out, because Lego retires sets. And so the Superstar Destroyer, I'm not sure how much it cost when it initially came out, but I think the going rate at this point is $700 or more. And so while I did spend all that money on the Millennium Falcon, and I do like the Superstar Destroyer, I'm not sure that I'd be willing to spend that, especially because it didn't cost that initially when it came out, right? And certainly not everybody has the funds to go out there and buy a Millennium Falcon or a Superstar Destroyer. So I do like the fact that there are options out there, despite they're not legal options. I get it, and I get that people are upset about the fact that Lego is losing money and the intellectual property theft from Lego and all that. I get it. I totally get it. At the same time, think if Lego really wanted to shut it down, they probably would. But yet they haven't, which is it's interesting. It almost makes you wonder if Lego realizes that yeah, it's out there, but you know what? The people that are buying Lepin don't have the money to buy our product anyways, and so we're not losing any sales. And I'm curious if that's really what they think, because if they do, I think that's pretty intelligent, right? Because there's been arguments for years about, let's say like back to Napster, MP3s, and all that, right? And the music industry complained about how much money they were losing, this, that, and the other. And the reality is not most, but a lot of the people that were using Napster were kids who didn't have any money anyways. And so with them not having any money, they weren't going to buy any of your music anyways. And so, it's kind of interesting in that sense. Like, are you really losing money? And kind of the same thing. That's the same way I look at like Lego and Lepin, right? Maybe Lego doesn't care because in reality, they're not really losing anything. I hate stickers. That's probably the one thing I really dislike about Legos, or just the stickers. Some people say that you can use dish detergent. And I think that probably works. I think it's difficult, even having done that. All right, let's see. Yeah, I got one on the other side too now. At least there's not a ton of stickers. There's some other like Lego type manufacturers out there that just use a ton of stickers, and I'm not a huge fan of that. Just because they're meant to be, used by kids, and so you got these kids who inevitably can't put on the stickers. Oh, look at that! I found a piece I put on wrong. What did I? Oh no, wait. Yep, I skipped a step. Whoopsie. Got like all excited. Happens sometimes. But the Lego instructions are really good. So, I forgot where I was going with. So with the Lepin thing earlier, what I really love about Legos is all your bags labeled, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so the instructions are labeled as well. So you're only going to use whatever bags, or you're only going to open whatever bags Lego tells you to use for those steps, which works really, really well. The Lepin builds are not like that. The Lepin builds, you just have all these multiple bags, and sometimes some of the pieces you need are in the same bag, but you really don't know. So you end up just basically going in and opening all the bags and kind of just trying that. I do see a direct correlation between videoing this and talking and making more mistakes because I'm paying less attention. But yeah, so the Lepin sets are cool. I think there's a place for them. And the reality is for the hardcore collectors, Lego knows they're never gonna lose the sales to Lepin on the hardcore collectors, for the reason being that the figures are just monstrous. It's kind of funny, they do such a good job on the ships themselves, and the brick quality is pretty good. Look up for a minute. The brick quality is pretty good. It's hard to tell aside from the bricks themselves. The Lego bricks themselves say Lego right on them. I don't know if I can. Oh, yeah, there you go. So the Lego bricks say Lego right on them, and the Lepin bricks do not say Lego on them. Alright, another little bag. And so you can tell that they're not Lego builds, but the ships themselves look good. Every once in a while you'll have a problem, and usually what you can do is you can take some of your regular Legos and you can adjust and you can make it work or rebuild it a little bit differently. So they're not perfect, but if some child out there is never going to be able to build a superstar destroyer because it's $700, the parents can't afford it, or whatever the case, and this is going to give them a chance to build that. I think it's nice that they have that opportunity to still do the build, because the build, it's a Lego build. I mean, it's really no different. In fact, and that's one of the things that people complain about, right? Lepin rips off the Lego build. So Lego spends all this time and engineering money to build these things, and Lepin just kind of bars the instructions and says, "Oh, cool. Hey, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and copy this." And they go ahead and they throw all the pieces they need together, and that's that. And so, it sucks from Lego's standpoint, because they've spent all this money on the R&D, and here's some other company that comes in and just starts, stealing their intellectual property. And that's the exact same thing that if you're listening to the news, there's all those complaints, right? Like, if you want to do business in China, essentially, you have to give up some of your IP, and Chinese businesses start stealing some of that IP. And it sucks, but at the same time, like, why are you going over there to begin with, right? And it's not like they're going over there because, they're big companies and they want to provide jobs to other companies. I mean, let's be honest. Companies are going to China because the labor is cheaper, because they can have the same product built for a lot less money, and those companies can then be profitable. So you kind of get, you get what you pay for. And Lego's the same way, because I'm pretty sure Lego has manufacturers over there too. Maybe I'm wrong, and if I am wrong, I apologize. But pretty sure Lego has manufacturers over there. My brothers and I actually saw that a while back with jerseys, soccer jerseys. And basically what we found, it's harder to find now, but you could go over there, or you could go on AliExpress at the time, and you could buy soccer jerseys for $15-17. And like the normal price for these soccer jerseys would be a lot more. They'd be, $50, $60, $70, sometimes more. And so here you have a situation where these things are being sold, for much, much cheaper. And it was interesting because at first we're like, oh, they're probably just going to be really crappy jerseys. And then you get the jerseys and you realize you can't distinguish between the real ones and the knockoff ones. And, after doing some more reading online and such, what you end up realizing is, Adidas went over there to China and Thailand, to have all their jerseys mass produced. So they're not being created in Germany anymore. They're not being created in China and Thailand. And so what happens is the shop owners over there who run these manufacturing plants, they go ahead and, let's say they run jerseys for Adidas, from 8 to 5, and they stop at 5. Maybe take a break, come back. Then they run a few extras, and those few extras is what they end up selling on AliExpress. And so a lot of times, these jerseys and such that you're seeing are the exact same thing that you would see in American stores or anywhere else, right? It's the same thing, but they're just ripping off Adidas and making some extras and selling those. So, of course, there's the whole argument, like, is that theft? And if you're buying that, are you really colluding with those people and everything else? But it for me, goes back to the same thing I said earlier, right? Is that if you don't have the money to buy a product anyways, and somebody comes out with a cheaper version of that product, I get it. Whoever had the original product is going to be pissed. But the reality is, in a lot of cases, they didn't have the money to buy the jerseys anyways. They wouldn't have bought them, right? It's not like they bought something just because somebody, or that they bought that knockoff brand only because it's, somebody made it and it's cheaper. A lot of people only buy stuff because that's all they can afford, right? If it's not in your budget, and at the time, I had other stuff to spend money on aside from soccer jerseys. But you see a good deal on a soccer jersey, I'm like, oh sweet, you know what? I'll go ahead and buy it. So, point of all that is, I think a lot of times companies worry about stuff like that, and they probably shouldn't. But that's just my 2 cents on it. All right, so let's see what's going on here. Wow, I am on page 34. There are 91 pages. So quite a bit to go still. Let's see, I wonder, is there a way to pause this? Alright, so I went ahead and I completed it. And it's interesting. So I mean, it looks pretty cool. The build itself was okay. It wasn't one of my favorite, but then again, the ship's not one of my favorite either. So that's probably why. So this opens up. The back, it's kind of cool actually. It opens up, and it has a gun that pops out, right? Oh, but the gun sometimes comes out with that holder. That's a pain. There is this little button here, and how did I do that? Hang on. Oh, I think you turn, no. Oh, you have to set it down. You have this little button here, and it pops the engines off. So, kind of cool, I guess. Again, not really my favorite ship. I got it because it was on sale. And it kind of rounds out the collection, right? Stormtrooper with the little backpack. And we have Rey. This is pre. As you can see here. This is pre lightsaber. Then we have Ankar's Thug. And then the star of the show, BB-8. So pretty neat build. Not my favorite again, but it's all right. I think that the coloring on it doesn't really fit in with a lot of the other ships, right? I really like the First Order, the darker ships, and all of that. I mean, if I come over, right, the command shuttle, all gray, you know, the First Order TIE fighter, I really like that. You know, Kylo Ren's TIE fighter, just with the black and the gray. I like those. I like that coloring. You know, even with the Walker, I like the coloring. So the color here, not my favorite, but I will live with it, and then it'll join the collection just like the rest of them, and I'll continue to buy more. Oh, I forgot a figure. Finn. So, yep, he's in there too. So let me find a place for this, and click subscribe if you want to see more of my videos and more of my builds and just talking about kind of whatever comes up at the time. Hopefully soon enough I'll actually be able to live stream, and that'll be a little more fun because friends and family can kind of just respond and comment and such. Talk to you guys later.